Hello and welcome to Texx Talks. I am Texx, and today I am talking to arguably the biggest pop star in South Africa at the moment. Hailing from Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo, his story is now legendary. Crossing crocodile-infested waters and journeying down to the tip of the African continent where he settled in Durban. After juggling multiple jobs as a security guard, a car guard, and a waiter, while simultaneously working on making music, a few demos sent to the MD of Universal Media Publishing changed everything, as he then began to take giant leaps towards becoming the African pop maverick that he is today. Renowned for his distinct sound, his songs reflect a peregrine of life shared by so many who live in Africa, but few are able to express their experiences in a way that he does, capturing an ear so universally and directly. I am, of course, talking about the enigmatic Tresor.
But first, we need to mention our awesome studio sponsors for this season.
SDFD Studio, a world-class recording facility opened by local music specialists, Sit the Folk Down. Their services range from audio and post-production work to mixing and mastering and everything else audio-related. Get in touch with them at studio@stfd.co.za for all your recording and music-related needs. Mixroom Studios is a boutique, electronic music-focused mixing and mastering studio. And if you're making cool electronic music, you probably need your beats to be polished. So hit Mixroom Studio up at info@mixroomstudios.com for more info. Tresor, welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
Now, there is a question, okay? Because this is the first, we've met a few times, but this is the first time that we're sitting down in an interview environment. And there's a question that I have been wanting to ask you forever.
All right.
You make this epic crossing from Goma, right?
Yes.
All the way down to Durban. Why Durban? Like, no disrespect to Durban or anything, right? It's a cute town. But, like, why not Johannesburg? Or even Cape Town if you want to settle by, like, a seaside town. What was it about Durban that made you go, okay, I want to put down roots here?
If I have to be honest with you, I was not fully informed. But all I knew, I didn't want to start in Johannesburg because I heard some of the craziest stories eventually that I experienced later in life. And I come from a very small city, and, I heard all about small city living, being Durban on a much larger scale, and the weather, and also a very big community of Congolese people. So it might have been easier for me to integrate. And I had like a few two or three people I knew were coming down. Maybe distant people that I was in touch with were just people that were based in Durban. So I thought I had a much better chance to be able to integrate and have maybe a little bit of quick start to say if I started in Durban. I mean, to be honest, it was not a bad decision at all because Durban set a really great path and foundation for me. It was an incredible environment for me to start from.
Okay, so you're in Durban. We've now established that. When you arrive, how much English do you speak when you arrive?
About 0.5%.
So, I mean...
Actually, 0.1. That was a pretty. I was just trying to flex, but I had no knowledge on English whatsoever.
But that's very intense. I mean, I know from my dad. My dad's Italian, but he was born in Venezuela, lived in Brazil. Really long, very complicated journey of how he ended up in South Africa. But when he did, he was 13 years old, and it was apartheid South Africa. So here's this boy, this Italian boy, coming from Brazil, doesn't speak a word of English, has to learn English, but also Afrikaans. Like, because at the time, with the schooling system and everything.
Of course.
And I remember growing up, my dad would say to me, you have no idea how easy you have it. Like, imagine being like a pimply teenager arriving in a country.
Trying to figure yourself out.
And trying to learn two languages at the same time.
Of course.
But how old were you at the time when you arrived in Durban?
If I remember correctly, I was about 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a pretty young adult, from a very small city, so most of things, not just a lot of things, were very new to me. So I had a lot to adapt, a lot to learn, and a lot to figure out.
And can you remember what the music scene in Durban was like when you landed there?
Yeah, like I mean, I know pretty much everybody that was still based there. Like, crazy enough, I think the early people that welcomed me was like some of the legendary folk musicians in Durban, such as the incredible, iconic late Sid Kitchen.
Wow.
Sid Kitchen. There was Madala Kunene. Who actually offered me a spliff the first time I met him. I couldn't even speak English. He just like, hey, Yamo, you must, you know. There was, there's a lot of, I think at that time, Stealing Love Jones was doing well. SJ, eventually I used to work as a gardener for one of SJ's friend from Stealing Love Jones. So she became a good friend of mine. Perez was still around. Eventually we started a band called Maisha, which did pretty well in the Durban scene. Which was an eclectic version of like Freshly Ground, like a lot of guys from Portugal, UK. It's a wild story how the band came together, but I used to sing and my manager would come in between the set to speak. This next song is called, because I couldn't really speak English.
Oh, wow.
I'll be telling people the next song and I'll try and speak to him and explain to him what the song is about. And so Durban was very... That around the same time, I met a lot of incredible musicians we used to do open mics with. Who some of them became like very lifelong friends, such as Moonchild. We used to do a lot of open mics together like 10 years ago. Busiswa, Toya Lazy, Cheese. I've also known Holly Ray since she was like 14 years old.
Wow.
I knew her mom, Viv, very, very kind lady. I knew her family. So, I mean, everybody in Durban, like, it's a very small circle of musicians.
I'm starting to understand now why you settled there.
Yeah, it's a very small town, and I got to navigate my way around, and I got to plot this global tech over there is about to kick off. I got to do a lot of things then. I got to learn to speak English easily with no pressure. I got to do small jobs and being able to live within my means, you know, so... There's so many incredible things I think that Durban was for me, and that was always forever cherish.
So talk to me about Maisha, right?
Yes.
Do you remember your first performance?
Yes, it was at Moyo, Shaka Marine. I got paid $2.5 grand.
$2.5 grand?
Yes, for the band, 6-piece band.
Oh, how times have changed,
yeah,
eh?
yeah. I got that was a pretty good check though. Like listen, I used to make $2.5 grand a month as a security guard. So getting that for a 45-minute set, I was like, I think we're getting it right, you know.
We're gonna eat Afro's chicken forever.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We're getting it right. So and it set, and I remember there were I think before that Oliver Mtukuzi played there before. Because we were at the beachfront and the people were just so excited, and it was just so new to me because there were different cultures, there's a lot of different races, and everybody was just so excited. And because the band was so new, eventually went and played Splashy Fan actually. That like Maisha played so fast, like the word traveled so fast, and everybody, there was journalists. I think if I remember well, there was a journalist from Durban called Neil Comfort. We used to do music journalist from the Mercury Times, and he supported a lot and wrote about it in the news. And there was an engineer who recorded most of the latest me, Black Mambazo, made the late Shabala rest in peace. Neil Snaman, who introduced me to, he used to work at the Playhouse Studios, introduced me to pretty much everybody. And the word traveled so fast, and then I think within 6 months I was on the same stage with Freshly Ground, opening for them at the Botanic Gardens.
And you also opened for Lyra.
Yeah, like around the same time when the band started, I couldn't speak a word of English though. And that's what was funny. I was just like, I had this cool band of people from like different people, like Zulu, Black, White, everybody, but I could not speak. Everybody was just like jumping on board, and it was just so amazing. It's an incredible time.
How long ago was this?
2008, 2009.
Because your command of the English language now is brilliant.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
No, for real.
I'm still, I kind of take pride in learning. I think my biggest, one of my biggest vision was to like, I'd love to actually write hit song in English, just as a challenge to myself. And write not just for myself, but also for English speaking people that started speaking English since they were born or whatever. You know, so yeah, it's always, I think, a beautiful thing. It kind of makes me feel good.
So how do you end up sending Ryan Hill, who was the MD of
Yeah.
Universal Media Publishing at the time, how do you end up sending him your demos? Like, do you grab his contact detail from online? Do you meet him at a party? Do you start stalking him? Like, what happens?
So, I believe in the timing of everything, Just to run the little bit back, I used to carry this small book where I used to put a lot of numbers in. And when I arrived, within like the first month, when I got my first security guard check, I'll spend like a lot of time on social media, mainly like Google Studio. So I didn't know the difference between recording studio and recording labels. All I knew, everything was just a production house, whatever. And I call hundreds of people, and it always takes one person to open the door for a whole new chapter to start. And one of the earlier people was Rod Nichols, who became a manager from Maisha. He met me at Mr. Price home, I remember, at the pavilion, and I played this guitar, and like a bunch of little like old people that were having some coffee and biscuit that came around, like listen to the music. And eventually Maisha was born, and we did a lot of Split Chiffon, White Mountain, and great shows, the marathons in Durban. I started making a living out of it. So then I wanted to grow and be better, and everything was in Durban at that time. One of my I think my biggest things that make me very uncomfortable is I don't love comfort. I don't love being stagnant. I don't love.
You love being on the go. You love
I love
moving.
new challenges.
Okay.
It works for me, and sometimes it drives others to feel crazy, but it's just part of who I am. I get bored very easily.
You like your brain to be stimulated.
All the time. Like that's how I live. So I record like 24/7, 365 days a year, So I love to be on the move. So I'll come to Joburg often. Take a bus, Greyhound or Intercape, sleep over. Maybe if I have an extra grand, I'll be able to sleep over at maybe a friend's house. One of my friends that used to help me and Rosebank sleep at the couch and hustle. And one day I was checking online about this competition and there was this young girl that won a competition of Universal Publishing, eventually got signed to the label. Then I'm like, okay, that sounds like a pretty easy link to sign. So I just Googled the number of Universal Publishing. That time they were based out of Tokai in Cape Town.
Uh-huh.
So I called. I was like, the guy doesn't answer the phone for the company. That day, hi, Universal Music Publishing, Ryan speaking. The MD answering. I'm like, hi Ryan, this is Tresor. I'm an artist, I'm a songwriter, I do this and this and this and this and this. And they're like, so now hit him a question, can you sign me? He's like, oh, I gotta hear your music first before we sign you. So I'm like, okay, give me your email address so I can send. So he gave me the email. It was a Friday. I'm in Joburg, and I think if I remember, I had pretty much maybe my last $500. I need to catch a bus back. I think it was around midday, and I have to catch back bus in the evening. So eventually, he gave me an email address. I put a bunch of small demos together that I had. Send him. Monday, first thing in the morning, I got the email. It's like, we really love the music, want to hear more. We're excited, we'd love to be involved. And I just went crazy. I'm trying to find ways to because the first time a major company was kind of interested in what I was doing, And that was, if I'm not mistaken, it might be around June, July. And so I just went in crazy mode studio. Like every week I'll tune out 15 songs, writing, guitar, just go. So by the time end of the year, I traveled to Cape Town. I got a lift with a friend. I played a few small shows at Zula Bar. And I got to meet Ryan Hill, the MD, finally, and signed my first publishing agreement. Ryan eventually became a very good friend of mine who turned into a business partner. He's one of my best friends.
Side note, you said you came down to Cape Town and you played a few shows at Zula Bar. I used to work as a bartender at Zula Bar.
No way.
And literally right now, I remember one of those gigs.
That's crazy.
I know, it's
That's
crazy
mad.
sitting here. I'm like,
on
what?
Long Street. That was in 2010.
Yeah.
Mad.
That's mind blown.
That's crazy.
But that's cool that you and Ryan are still friends.
Yeah, very cool, very good friends. He's an incredible brother of mine. And he's seen everything from the start when, we always joke, when we have either meetings with guys from the UK or the States and we're talking numbers of publishing. He's like, do you know your first publishing check was 10 grand? We always joke about it, but he's seen literally my start until where I am, and he knows where exactly what we're going. He understands and he gets it, you know. And it's a blessing for me. It's all about traveling and doing great things with people that understand and pretty much are submerged in your vision, you know, and he get it. So, yeah.
I want to talk about the single that kicked things off for you, because in my mind it was Never Let Me Go.
All right.
And I remember hearing it on 5FM for the first time and thinking that it was Beatenberg.
Yes.
And then hearing this voice and going like, but that's not Matthew Field's voice.
Yes.
And then later I found out it was you. I was like, but it was co-written with Matthew,
Yes,
which
correct.
makes so much sense.
Of course, of course.
So I know that you've done quite a few tracks with Matthew over the years.
Yes.
What's that creative partnership like?
So, you know, let me tell you how everything started with working with Matthew and Beatenberg. So, in 2013, you know, like I won this big competition of Holiday Inn Express as a writer and Rolling Stone
with
magazine.
Rolling Stone, yeah.
Yes, and I got given like the prize worth of like 150k, and I think with hotel rooms staying. So I was traveling in and out.
Balling.
And also, not really, but I started to feel the result of the hard work that I was having, you know. Also, I got the opportunity to write songs on Zahara's album, so I got my first ever check for publishing. Was like, it's the first ever 100k I've ever seen in my life, and it drove me so crazy. So I bought my first car, cash, was a little Polo, and the rest I went home to see my family I haven't seen in 6 years. So I came back home. I came back to Durban super broke because, you know, family, you're always gonna cash out, you know, and look after family, you're always, you know.
Did you also meet family members that you never knew you had?
Yes, of course, because everybody thought maybe I'm balling. At that time, I literally am starting, you know. So, anyway, when I came back in my broke state, everybody kept telling me, we keep hearing this song, we think it's you on the radio. At that time, I've heard Beatenberg before, because I was trying to help them get a remix from Zex Bantwini, who I knew for a long time. And I keep wondering which song is it, because I don't have a new song already, because East Coast Radio have been supporting my music for a long time, 2012, 2011. Like early singles, trying to figure out what kind of genre of music I'm trying to do. So, and I found out that song was Pluto with DJ Clog. I'm like, oh, that's mad. There was a lot of similarities because of the guitars and the vibe. So, and I'm like, oh, okay. Neil Sinclair was an A&R time at Universal. I'm like, Neil, I remember you sent me the guy's music. Can you arrange a session? Yes, oh, cool. I was in Cape Town touring with Zahara at that time. Was it at that same time? No, actually, I went to Cape Town, got in studio with Matt, and we wrote 2 songs on that day. We wrote Never Let Me Go, we wrote Zambezi. Both songs made it on my debut album. I've been recording. Around the same time, I released a song called Mount Everest, which just reached #1 in Italy. Like, everything was happening so fast.
That was with AKA?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the remix was with AKA. The original one, so the guys just, an Italian label called Time, found the music online on YouTube, and like they just like couldn't stop like harassing on the song. Like within 6 weeks, it went out and became big at that time. So 5FM started playing that song because they heard it at a dance music festival, a dance music conference in either Amsterdam or Ibiza, and they start playing Never Let Me Go at the same time. So everything was just happening so fast, right? So of course, Beatenberg also having at that time a lot of things happening for them. Matthew and I forged this friendship over the years, and we just kept writing. Of course, there's a lot of songs we've written, but I think people have only heard three or four.
How many do you reckon you've written over the years?
I think we probably have an album. We've worked probably easily like on 20-25 songs.
Wow.
Yeah, we write quite a lot together. You know, when it comes to artistic relationships and chemistry, they're very rare that are right, you know. I mean, you can have 2 talented people in one room, but they're not necessarily going to be able to connect artistically. So, and I've been very fortunate to be able to find a few people that I connect with musically and vice versa. And yeah, and Matthew, more than just music, is a really good friend of mine. I mean, we spent a bit of time together writing in London, and I think we all feel it's that time where we kind of take the music to the global stage on a bigger scale. And yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna kind of ride together for a long time.
I think even though the core of your pop-rooted sound has stayed somewhat the same over the years, I really, really enjoyed your last album, Nostalgia, because it's got that Bakanga element and it's got the bubblegum element and it's like a musical love letter of sorts to different genres, which is really cool. You must be very proud of what you put together on that album.
Yeah, I'm very... You know, that's really more than anything. I always tell it's like a sonic trip into my childhood. Like, you gotta... I imagine the sound of my childhood, the music I used to listen to, and put together on one record to be like, look, I mean, I don't know where I'm going sonically. Like, music is a very, it's very surprising, you know, sphere. You never know. You can think of something, but it won't come exactly how it is. Like, right now I'm experimenting with a lot of things. I don't know when I get in studio with Macrons on what's going to come. I don't know if I get in studio with Calvin Harris, what's going to come out of it. Or, I don't know. I'm spending some time in studio with Constantine Kesting, who did Tones and I, Dance Monkey. I don't know what's going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, for me, an adventure and a very beautiful one. And Nostalgia particularly was very personal because I did the album for myself. Be like, hey, if ever people ask me, where do you get your sound from? I'm like, go listen to that album. Here's the reference. That's what Nostalgia was all about. Yeah.
My favorite track of that album is probably Electric Light, because I love it's got that like Brenda Fassie Weekend Special vibe to it. Love that.
Thank you.
Also features AKA.
Yes, of course.
The two of you seem to also have worked quite closely over the years. Describe that partnership and how it's changed.
AKA is he's a very, very talented writer, and he also thinks out of the box, which for me is a big factor for anybody I work with to not always conform, you know. And he's quite a character, and I love that about him. You know, he's an honest guy. He doesn't have any breaks when it comes to expressing himself, you know. I might be the opposite, but I love that about him. He's a really good guy, and I've enjoyed working with him. He's always excited about the music. I mean, when he did his verse for Electric Night, he literally stopped recording his album, because personally, when I'm recording my album, I try not to interfere for a lot of things. We gotta be so close. Like, I'll stop recording and do something for Matthew. I'll do something from Psyche. I'll do something for my artist Bonj and Batundi while I'm doing my album. You know, and very few people outside of that circle, you know, because there's a channeling of energy and a lot of things that is happening, and sometimes you don't want to interrupt it, you know. So it's something that deeper than just like go in the studio and whatever, you know. So and he did that. He just stopped recording his Touch My Black album. He's like, brother, I need to get and be on this song, and which he did, and I'm excited how it came out. And for me, all these records and albums and songs, they're a very strong imprint in time, and I want kids or future generation to be able to look at eras, and even people around the world, the kid in Philippines or South America or in the States or UK or France, to be able to discover one day Nostalgia or Beautiful Madness or an album 7 and be like, whoa, this existed like 20 years ago, like someone used to think this way, and that for me, that's the beauty of the sound.
So you get to the end of 2019.
Yes.
And you look back on your year and you see that your music has been streamed on Spotify 3.9 million times. How does it feel to know that you have that many people who are actively participating in and listening to your story?
It's beautiful. It really is a beautiful, it's a blessing. The music has been traveling a lot of time organically, you know, and it just people sharing. I mean, we've had a bit of support overseas, but I really think it's very encouraging. It's a blessing, and I feel it's an indication for us to be able to put more effort and more resources into breaking the music globally, and that's where my head is at. You know, it's a great start.
So in July 2017, you inked a now historic deal with Universal Music.
Yes.
For a reported 7 figures. And then you sign another deal with Universal Music for your label, Chacal Entertainment Group.
Yes.
To empower local artist development and production. Apart from the money, what opportunities have those two deals opened up for you locally, but also globally? Because I see you traveling a lot backwards and forwards.
I'm start with my album. So I think the smartest thing that or smart moves I've made so far has been investing in myself. Because you get to reap the benefits, face to face and see it yourself. It takes a lot because entrepreneurship is like it's an extreme sport, and I think with the deal of Universal, it's something that it's like the first deal I've ever shaped. Like I was personally part of the reason why that deal came to life. Like there was no representation. It was just myself that went and played Universal music, spoke to the MD people, who was a good friend of mine, and just came with the deal, which it became something that is something really amazing for my career. I mean, we've done 2 projects together that have done well, both of them being Best Pop Album of the Year. We're probably gonna do I'm dropping a new album this year, so you hear it first here.
Exclusive.
Yeah, that deal has taught me a lot about business and getting to understand the running around of the game and the importance of relationships in this industry. Pretty much the deal, and from there I shaped the deal of my label. So both my deal and my artist deals are under one umbrella, which is Jackal Entertainment Group. Though it's structured differently. There's a license and there's a JV, joint venture, which is one of my artists. The artists, everybody still signed under Jackal. I'm signed under Jackal myself. And with the artist, it's always, signing artists, I'd love to glamorize it and make it seem like, oh my God, but it's actually a massive challenge because you deal with a lot of people's emotions, understandably so. People's dreams, and people are always nervous, people are always tense, and it's always on the edge, and I understand so, but I also know I have the best intentions for my artist.
Of course, because you are an artist yourself.
So I've always told myself, if I can't do the best for an artist, I'll let them go. And I think they've seen the commitment, they've seen the dedication, they've seen the fight, because when it comes to business partnerships and friendships and relationships, there is 2 parties, the Jackal, the Universal. It's always going to be a lot of friction because there's misunderstanding sometimes, but so far so good. I believe things are going to get better though, because I believe these guys deserve to be on the world stage. So I think this year there's going to be really epic for them, because the feedback so far on the music that is coming out is really amazing. Incredible songs.
Can't fit any more Incredibles in
there. Look, I'm blessed in terms of like the kind of artists I've surrounded myself with. I don't put too much on my plate that I can't handle. I only have 2 artists, including myself, and that's already a lot. And once they through the window fully, and I know that the guys now they can be able to sustain themselves and everything is good, then I'll be able to take on the next artist. But for now, those Batundi and Bonj are my massive focus here.
You sound incredibly business savvy, and I know that those kinds of things, like also being an entrepreneur and running my own business, that doesn't come overnight. That comes from like years of hard work and from watching people who are older, wiser than you work, and if you're lucky, having somebody be your mentor. Have there been ups and downs? Have there been positives and negatives? And if there have been negatives, what have you taken from them business-wise?
Of course, I believe in everything in life. The so-called negatives for me, I look at them as great lessons, of life. So there's never any loss per se. As I said earlier, entrepreneurship is a massive, it's an extreme sport. And you always have to be on your toes. You have to innovate. You have to be better. You have to be the best, the best version of yourself. And yes, I've lost a lot of money in the process. I've made a lot of financial mistakes. I've made a lot of bad investment mistakes. I've made a lot of bad judgments of character and a lot of mistakes. But I don't also beat myself up for it.
Very important.
I just carry on. I think my spirit, the way it has been shaped over time and how I've gotten through life is, as long as I'm still alive, as long as I'm still here, there's nothing that we cannot fix, nothing that we cannot mend, nothing we cannot make better, So I'm here living such an incredible life, musically and as an entrepreneur, as just a human being, and I'm grateful to be able to live my dreams out loud, and also being able to help others live their dreams out loud.
And in the same way that, legendary African artists like Fela Kuti and Youssou N'Dour became poster boys in a way for African culture through their music, I feel like you're doing more or less the same thing with your distinct kind of Afrocentric aesthetic that you have. Do you feel any kind of responsibility of sorts to sort of carry the torch in that way?
Thank you. I think, personally, more than just a responsibility, there's a narrative that has to be built of African music globally. Because if you know, because I know you do, is with African music from Africa has always been put in a box. It's always called this word called world music.
World music.
And I think that's offensive, because Africa is one continent, but there are so many cultures. There's so many incredible sonic identities, and I don't do world music, and even if it's called whatever, it's music from Mali or Congo or South Africa or China, you can't put everything in one pot of mixed vegetable and call it world music. You really can't. So before I used to be like, oh, cool, world music, but as time went by, I realized actually that very limiting. And my responsibility, that I believe, is to kind of change a narrative, just like alongside other friends of mine that I believe are really incredibly talented. Because for me, we might not have the platform, but songwriting wise or production wise or mixing wise, if I have to be honest, we still have to get there, but that's why we're working with a lot of mixing guys like in the States or Europe or France. We good, I don't see why an artist from Africa cannot be in the same category as your Bruno Mars or your Billie Eilish or your The Weeknd or Vampire Weekend, or I don't see why Bonge can't be put on the same platform as your Georgia Smith.
I was having this exact same conversation with Carl Anderson and Greg Carlin
You
from
understand?
Apple Music the other day, yeah. And we were saying when they launched their Africa Now playlist, all of a sudden it's like one of the hottest playlists that Apple Music has, globally across the board. And everybody wants to be featured on this playlist because the eyes of the world, the spotlight of the world is on Africa and on everything that we're doing, creatively, culturally. So you're right.
And for me, personally, I feel the responsibility to be able to push that narrative where, and then I don't doubt that happen in our lifetime, where a pop artist from South Africa or of course if you're distinct sound from Congo or whatever, if you do music that can be able to cross boundaries and cross genre, it should be treated with as much weight as they would treat Khalid in the States or UK, whatever. And I feel like that's where that's my responsibility for me. That's how I feel. At least I have to do it for the generation and the people that the musician that do something that's different out the box, whatever. So, and I think it's really exciting times, and we have to follow in the path, of course, of the greats such as Brahu. I'm sure you know the whole story, and he we were very close, and he really inspired me a lot and gave me extra confidence in the actual vision, because in 1967 he had a #1 record in the States, which never been repeated again. It's been happened once for an African artist, and it's never repeated again. That's how crazy it is.
That's insane. But I feel like times are changing hectically.
Very much so.
And I don't think that that will be that 1967 record will be that for much longer. Fingers crossed.
No,
Fingers crossed.
no, not for sure, not. And I felt the same. I feel times are changing and things are moving, and walls are breaking. And yeah, the world. I keep telling my friends and family, man. I think the best privilege to have right now on the planet is just freedom of movement. If you can, hopefully, the governments overseas don't, stay fair and just, give people visas when they need them to travel. But traveling for me has been the most opener, and it's helping me discover a lot of things, discover myself, appreciate the world. And that's where I feel like what's gonna change. Like, there's so many communities, the music is traveling, the culture is traveling, and that for me is gonna put us in a position why Caiaphas and Letambul was when Michael Jackson Liberian go. Do you understand? Like, because the access, that ever missing is the access.
I feel like, to bring it home to South Africa, what you do and this flair that you have, and the way that you craft your music videos, to the way that you dress, to the way you curate your social media, it's got a very distinct flair to it, very distinct aesthetic to it that not a lot of pop stars in this country have. Were you ever, coming from another country, were you ever at all surprised by how warmly South Africans treated you? And because obviously, not to get too deep or too political, we do know that there is quite an ugly xenophobic undercurrent in this country.
Yes.
Is that ever something that you experienced, or have you found generally South Africans to be quite warm and quite open to you?
I think, just to make it clear, the xenophobia is something that I've experienced very subtle in different environments, be it work or social environments. However, my general view of South Africans is that they've been very kind, very welcoming, very open, and I wouldn't want to paint a whole population based on the very few that have done or have the xenophobia.
They're always bad apples, and in
so
every
I wouldn't
batch.
I think that would be very unfair, So, and I'll forever be indebted and grateful to this country for the platform. The amount of love I get, be it from radio or media or shows, it's just incredible. It really is incredible. I don't. It takes me a long time for me to think that I don't belong here. It's been a blessing, and I felt everything comes from the power of music. Music did that. I didn't do it, Music did that, and the people just, music is so crazy and beautifully strange, where it just blurs a lot of things, It blurs a lot of things, and I'm sure there are people that don't really, maybe they're xenophobic, that will still dance to the music because they just like the song or they love the music, and that's the beauty of it. And I look at, anybody that is maybe have the xenophobia thing, it might be it's ignorance, it's misguided anger, and though I don't support it, I don't approve of it, I have a very tiny window of understanding, in a sense where I believe there is a lot of dialogue, a lot of reparation, a lot of dealing that has to be done for that root to be taken out, because there is a lot of social political issues underneath, and when people misdirect or misunderstand or put their feelings the wrong way, of course they're always going to blame the next man that they see. because that, oh, you're always on trying to smash this glass because it's here, but the glass did not close your cell phone provider from like messing up with your landline, whatever, you know. So
I've read a lot of articles about you, interviews with you over the years, and people have mentioned that you're quite a private person, right? Which is in no way a bad thing. Like, I'm mad private. I don't want people to know my business. But I feel like you're the African Beyonce. Like, we have no idea what's going on, like, behind closed doors with you, like, at all. Do you feel like people, media, fans hound you more because you're so private? Because they, like, really want to know what's going on?
Look, I think in the age of social media, like, I naturally just share what I believe is important for people to know, you know. And the rest, if it's really important for me to keep, I keep, you know, such as family and, you know, people, loved ones, and business, and, you know, because I feel like, you know, I mean, so many times my peers or friends will be like, oh man, this happened. Oh, why you didn't tell people? Like, it's a great thing. Why didn't you just, because that would be a great moment for you in media. I'm like, nah, it's never about, for me, it's everything gotta be around the music. Everything else is distraction, really, you know. So if the music is causing all that stirring, that's great. If not, then that's okay, you know. And I love to keep it that way because it's keep me sane. It's give me my own sanctuary within my mind to just be at peace with life.
So we know that you're an incredibly busy man, running your own business, mentoring your artist, writing your own music, hopping from South Africa to this country to that country. I know there are some things going on.
Right.
What things are you at liberty to share with us about what is happening in the future with Tresor? And your business to a larger extent.
I think the aim for us of the business is to build a massive company worth a lot of millions in dollars, for sure.
I like that.
And in pounds, even better.
Make that foreign currency.
That I'm driven by it. It's just, I believe it's something that's very important given the story I come from. It's very important to have that story, build it from music. So I'm venturing into a lot of things. It's music, it's film, it's media, it's technology. And yeah, property, that's for the company. And I think for myself, there's a room now, I believe, and space to be able to venture into global space. So I've been spending a bit of time in New York and London and LA. Most of this year, for next 2-3 years, there's going to be my spaces. So, you know, and I've started to ask for a little bit of help from people that have been traveled those journeys. So people that produce and work with incredible artists in the States, in the UK and US, just to try to navigate that sphere, because I believe here I can call up on anybody that I feel like will be able to assist with a song, or it's just the world here for me has gotten smaller. I mean, I've been fortunate enough. From us, a lot of people don't understand. I've been in the game for literally less than 5 years. You know, but I've been in the room pretty much for everybody.
Literally less than 5 years.
Yes, like since my first single came out.
Because Never Let Me Go came out in
2016.
Tresor, you just blew my mind now.
Yeah, I've been in the game for less than 5 years. So, and for like, I mean, I used to be a musician for a long time, like 5 years, 6 years before. But I'm saying, like, as I brought as an artist and I start being like awareness, being 5 years or less, it's gonna be actually 5 years end of this year. And I've been in the room with pretty much everybody. I think be it Mafkizolo writing for them. I mean, be it Black Coffee recording my vocals for Speed of Sound, Anati, aka Cheese. Anybody can think of. Ladies Me Black Mambazo, like anybody can think of. And I feel like the universe is pushing me to go do something better, because this has been such an incredible stepping stone. And that's what I feel. Like, with my genre of music, the way everything has been pushed here, we've done, I'm sure you know a lot of pop musician you've experienced in the last 2-3 years. It's very hard for a pop artist to push the movement as far as it is where it is right now. Because a lot of people assume you're a pop artist, you clearly there must not be money or any income whatsoever. But I've been very fortunate because the music is being crossing over, be it the urban or pop market. And where I'm at right now is reaching out, the people we're talking about, to Phineas Management, Nile Rodgers, Constantine Tons and I.
Some high rollers.
Like, it's going to take a lot of money, a lot of investment, but also I know it's worth it, because where everything is going, you can't be trying to play in the big league when you have the wrong boots. You really can't. You got to have the right gear, and you got to be in the exact same room. You got to play with the exact same people. And that's what it is. The mixing is very important. The mastering is very important. The tracking is very important. Now, I can't just record a song in a certain way, quality or whatever, and expect it to go up with a Harry Styles or an Ed Sheeran song. Meanwhile, they've spent 300,000 rand on the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even about spending. What I'm saying, a lot of investment down on the music. When the song is right, it pays off big time, because everything just takes off because everything feels right. And that's what I meant. So we're just traveling the world, connecting, recording, working with the right people, investing and investing and investing and investing and investing. Something's going to take off, though, in the next 2 years. Maybe this year, maybe next year.
Well, I think in 5 years, if you've come this far and you've done this much, I can't wait to catch up with you in another 5 years. In LA, in New York, wherever
Most
you
probably,
are.
There'll be a cottage there at the Malibu mansion, Beverly Hills.
Okay, is that my invite? Can I come? Okay, great.
You'll be very welcome.
Okay, I'm just looking at my producer. Just make a note of that. So in 5 years, we're going to be in his Malibu mansion / cottage, whichever. Doing this follow-up. No, not at all. So serious. I love it. But I just want to say thank you so much for this. This is long overdue. I can't believe this is the first time that we've done this.
Thank you. I know.
And I cannot wait to see the trajectory of your star just go.
It's exciting times, and thank you so much for having me. It's been incredible. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you around, but also hopefully in Malibu soon.
Yeah.
I won't lie, you're killing me softly. A love like this is hard to come by. Everywhere you go, I go. And I don't wanna close my eyes, no, babe. When we are out with fragile bones, I'll still sweep you off your feet, my God. You must feel chance and see. I'll call the 1 million years, baby. You must feel chance and see. I'll call the 1 million years, baby. You must on your own, in your arms, baby. This life will never be the same, no. I'll stay true, give you my love again. Even when others could be better. When we are out with no regret, I'll still sweep you off your feet, my God. You must feel chance and see. I'll call the 1 million years, baby. You must feel we are young. I wanna hold you, but babes, touch your lips, we are young. Hold you, but babes, touch your lips, we are young. You're not real, time stands still. I called you for 1,000,000 years, baby. You're not real. You're not real, time stands still. I called you for 1,000,000 years, baby. You're not real.
Shout out to Tresor for joining us in studio. Thanks for joining us for another Texx Talks. Check out texxinthecity.com for more episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and listen to Texx Talks on all good streaming platforms. From myself, Texx, our producers, Jonathan Ings and Matt Lutz, and our assistant researcher and collaborator, Al Clapper, catch y'all on the flip side.